Hey folks, so a few weeks ago we got to participate in Yamaha's 2023 Adventure Ride. On day number one, we got to operate Yamaha's Wolverine R-Max 21000. This is a two-seat recreational side-by-side. We haven't driven a side-by-side in a while. It was fun to see what Yamaha's got cooking on the four-wheel side. Day number two, we rode Yamaha's 2023 Ténéré 700. This is a middleweight adventure touring bike from the Tuning Fork brand. We outlined its capability in the preview video a few weeks ago. Now it's time to giddy up at the controls of it live from the Yamaha Adventure Ride. Who's ready to ride?
All right, here we go, folks, aboard the 2023 Yamaha Ténéré 700, and we have a good old-fashioned mechanical key. This key is embossed with a little bit different plastic thing on the end. Yamaha keys don't usually look like this. This is an updated design. I like this more premium design. This is a nice touch. Thank you for continuing to use a mechanical key Yamaha motor. Let's turn the ignition on. This is the monocolor LCD display. Thumb the starter button, notch her into first gear, and away we go. See you guys. We are operating this Ténéré 700 at the official Yamaha Motor USA press event here in Gateway, Colorado. The guys are just getting their gear on, waiting for people as usual. Joining us on our ride, we have former Supercross and Motocross racer Travis Preston. He's on the right. Then we have Yamaha Off-Road press liaison Mike Ulrich in the middle. And then we have multi-time Supercross and Motocross champ Ryan Villapoto right there on the third bike right there. So they're going to be joining us on our ride. As usual, we have our Insta360 1x3 camera. Do you guys know how much I love this camera? This camera rocks. Took a while to figure out how to use it, but once I did, this camera goes with me everywhere. And it's how we get that awesome 360 footage showing all of our US audience members what it's like to operate these vehicles. Insta360 has really nice proprietary video editing software. You can use it on your iOS or Android enabled phone. I use it on my OS equipped MacBook Pro. I like using things on my MacBook Pro because I have more control over the process. But if you're a phone person, you can do that too. Super slick. Thank you, Insta360. All right, folks, we're just waiting for these guys and then we will begin our ride. So our Ténéré 700 is all stock except for that accessory skid plate right here and the fitment of these Dunlop 908 Rally tires. They are DOT labeled off-road tires specifically manufactured for the rigors of adventure touring riding off-road. Look at those knobs, you know, but they're still DOT legal, so you can operate this vehicle on the road. Look at those tires. That skid plate has mounting points right here to add Yamaha's accessory toolbox. So if you want to have some tools with you, they make a lockable toolbox that attaches to that skid plate. How cool is that? I would definitely want that accessory on my Ténéré 700 because you never know what life's going to bring you when you're riding off-road. And on these bikes, there's such limited storage capacity that having some extra tools and putting them somewhere low and out of the way is really good to us. All right, folks, away we go. We are going to go on a 130-some mile road ride today, they say. So this will be really nice. Yesterday we operated the Yamaha Wolverine R-Max side-by-side, two-seat side-by-side. That was really nice. It was so funny because we rode and it didn't actually rain on us, but it rained all around us. And that clay gets super snotty when it gets super snotty when it rains like that. So it was kind of ironic that the motorcycle guys were stuck and in the snotty snot mud, and us guys in UTVs were able to go right around them. That's kind of funny, or it was funny to me. So the cool thing about this Yamaha Ténéré 700 is it's affordable, it's lightweight, and it's easy to ride. So there are definitely higher specification vehicles out there, but Yamaha really does a good job in making a vehicle that's affordable to everyone and is easy to ride. This bike's very easy to ride. The suspension's a little bit more supple. We noticed this in our original review for the 2020 model year. I believe that review lives on cycleworld.com, so check it out there. I don't think we actually reviewed one of these vehicles on Motorcyclist Magazine, but we are today. So that's the secret sauce of Yamaha's Ténéré 700. Right now we are disabling the ABS. That is the only form of electronics or user adjustable electronics is ABS, and you disable it by pushing that button. Once you push that button, it says no ABS and you're in off-road mode. Now we have full control of the triple disc hydraulic brakes, 2 brakes in the front, 1 in the rear with full manual control. When you're riding off-road, it's nice to have full manual control of the brakes, because sometimes when you're applying the brakes off-road, if you aren't smooth with the front brake lever or the rear brake pedal application, you're going to put so much pressure into that circuit that it's not going to have the grip, and it's going to start cycling, and you're not going to be able to slow down effectively. So that is why you want to have ABS off. ABS off, though, you also have to remember, again, you still have to be smooth with the brake application, because you can lock up the front or rear wheel fairly easily, especially considering the reduced amount of grip that is on the track, or I'm sorry, on the trail. There's the media team. They're collecting external photography and videography for us, but realistically we're just going to use this in-house content that we make. Alright folks, ergonomics on this motorcycle. I love how narrow this bike is. It's nice and narrow. Handlebar is fairly tall, not too tall, and it has a decent amount of width, but it's not that wide. You don't really want an adventure bike with a crazy wide handlebar, because it's just going to limit where you can operate it. You got to remember, a lot of times you're riding in you can be riding in real techie terrain, and in the real techie terrain, you want to have a motorcycle that's just narrow and can fit on trail. So having a handlebar that's not too wide is a good thing. Sweep on this handlebar, it's got a little bit of rearward sweep, but it's definitely pretty neutral. This is a pretty neutral handlebar, which I like. Not too high, not too low, not too forward, not too back. Very nice. The position of the 4.2 gallon fuel tank, it has nice cutouts for the rider's legs, and the front fairing here, it actually does provide some element of protection from the elements. Whoa, little bumpy right there, folks. So it's nice to have some protection from the elements. This is just a 2-track fire road. It's funny because we were actually talking about this in yesterday's review of the R-Max, and that's like the one thing why UTVs are so awesome, is because they just glide over these washboard bumps so nicely. Even on this Ténéré 700, you feel those washboard bumps. You feel your kidneys bouncing up and down, and if you have to use the restroom, going over those washboard bumps doesn't help things at all. Ha ha ha. still, we're just cruising, and it's all good. Now, this Ténéré 700 is powered by Yamaha's 689cc parallel twin cross-plane crankshaft equipped engine. They call it its CP2 power plant. Yamaha has cross-plane crankshafts in all of its multi-cylinder engines, 2-cylinder, 3-cylinder, and 4-cylinder. Whoa, it's bumpy there. Stand up. Nice. No more having our kidneys rattle when we're standing up. So the 689cc CP2 engine, it was overhauled for the 2020 model year inside the MT-07 engine. Now, this engine's so neat is because it's very compact. It's very short from front to back, and it has that offset engine, uneven engine firing order, so the engine has more character than a conventional parallel twin. To be fair, pretty much every manufacturer who makes a parallel twin these days has an uneven firing order, and they do that because it boosts torque feel, so the engine feels like it has more torque, and then it gives it a nice character as well. It makes it sound and feel more like a V-twin engine. V-twin engines are awesome because they have lots of low-end torque, and they have a really cool engine and exhaust note that people like. The caveat with V-twin engines, though, is they are more complex. More cylinder heads, more parts, and the engine is bigger from front to back because you have those two cylinders opposed from each other in longitudinal format. So that is why everyone likes parallel twins, because they're cheaper to manufacture and they offer better packaging for manufacturers, so they can use them with greater variance in the positioning of the engine, just because the engine's so small. Whoa, those washboards they are bumpy. We'll continue to stand, folks. I forgot to take a whiz before I left, so it's just gonna make me have to take a whiz even faster. Look how beautiful this is, folks. Wow. Now, standing up in the standing position on this motorcycle is very accommodating. Like we said, that neutral handlebar position works well. I'm 6 feet tall, and usually when I'm riding motorcycles that are equipped to be ridden off-road, the handlebar is always too low. It's like one of my most common complaints. But I don't have that problem with this Ténéré 700. I can stand at the controls, and the handlebar's not too low, it's not too high. It works really well. I also really appreciate the foot pegs. The foot pegs are pretty meaty. They're almost like a real dirt bike. Nice wide platform to stand, which I like. So nice wide platform to stand. We have the rubber grip material removed. So the rubber grip material is removed, and it's removed so we have more grip against the sole of our boot. Very nice. The rear brake pedal also has some grip to it, so you can actuate it when it's wet or muddy out. Another nice touch. Yamaha thought of the details so much on this bike that even the front fender, you can actually move the position of the front fender. You can raise it a little bit if you're riding and the front tire starts getting caked in mud. You can actually lift that front fender, and that will help the front wheel clear and have a little bit more clearance. How neat is that? Good job, Yamaha. Paying attention to the details for us avid off road motorcycle riding enthusiasts out there. In front of us is former Supercross and motocross racer Travis Preston. He now represents Yamaha Motor. He is a non-exempt employee there, operates out of its Cypress workshop. He is in the testing department. He's a little bit taller than us. He's probably 6'2", 6'3", so you could see him standing on the bike, and even he didn't seem like he was that uncomfortable. So if you're someone who's taller than average, you're gonna like this bike. Conversely, if you're a smaller person, this bike actually works pretty good too, because number one, in OE configuration, the seat's pretty low. The seat's pretty low. It's not too hard to swing your leg over this motorcycle, even while we're wearing our bulky REV'IT adventure touring gear. We love adventure touring gear for adventure touring, but it can be a little bit bulky, and it's sometimes hard to swing your leg over the bike because the inseam of these pants is just tight. So, but the seat height's so low on this bike, it's still easy to swing your leg over the saddle. It's worth noting that Yamaha also makes different seat height options. So if you need a different seat height, you can get that as an OE accessory. Yamaha also offers an OE suspension lowering kit, so you can lower the rear suspension of this vehicle. I forget exactly how much it lowers it, but it does lower it by some amount. It does compromise rear suspension travel by a very small amount as well. But if you're someone who's below average in terms of height, and you still want to have the ability to ride this bike comfortably and put 2 feet down at a stop, that OE suspension lowering kit would be good for you. Now, to lower the fork, you just slide the fork up inside the triple clamps. That's how you lower the front end of this motorcycle. Of course, when you do that, you are not modifying the suspension travel, because it's just, the suspension is what it is. You're just modifying the way it's held inside the triple clamp. So that's kind of how that works. Wow, that was a nice smooth turn by Travis. I didn't do it quite as good as him. 452 pounds of off-road bike is more than 250 pounds on a dirt bike, so it takes a little bit of getting used to on this thing, at least for me. Really happy that this bike's shod with those nice Dunlop Rally Raid dot labeled adventure touring tires. That is a nice touch. Now, the 689cc CP2 engine puts power back via a 6-speed gearbox. 6-speed gearbox with a slipper action clutch. That's super awesome. That helps mitigate rear wheel instability if you're downshifting into too low of a gear for the vehicle speed traveled. The 6-speed transmission is augmented via this nice cable actuated clutch we have here that we actuate with our left hand. Power is put back to the 18-inch spoked alloy rim through a left-hand side conventional chain final drive. Yes, this bike rolls on spoked wheels to help boost durability, so you can have a little bit more wheel strength when you're riding over precarious terrain. It's worth noting that this Ténéré 700, the wheels are of tubed design, so there's tubes inside the rims. Yamaha says it does that because if you get a flat, you just pop in a new tube and you can keep going. So some people like tubes, some people like tubeless. It really just matters on preference. To be fair, I like them both. But you have to be aware of it so you have the proper tools and equipment for doing trail side tire changes or tire fixes. Whoa! That was a big bump. Do you see that, boys and girls? This thing ate it up really nicely. Alright folks, we're going to log some more miles. We will check in with you in a little bit here. Thanks for riding with us. Alright folks, look at here. We're climbing into the mountains. We're at approximately 8,000 feet right now. Look at those beautiful snow-capped mountains that we got to visit inside the RMAX. So beautiful out here. How neat is this? We get to ride with legendary Supercross racer Ryan Villapoto on our Ténéré 700s. This is awesome. Now, a lot of folks riding with us today are riding in dirt bike gear, but you can also ride in adventure touring gear, which is what I'm doing. It all depends on what you're comfortable with. Alright folks, we're about to make our photo stop here to get more media for everyone, even though we probably won't even barely use it. But we gotta follow the rules because we are at an official press introduction event. And when we're at an official press introduction event, we are the guest. So we don't make the rules. We're just the guests. So we gotta follow the rules. We can't just ride and do whatever we want. It's not a free-for-all. It's a structured event. So that is what we're doing here. And so far so good on this Ténéré 700. This thing's a hoot to ride. We didn't really talk about it, but riding on this fire road. I'm going to pull out of the road, Mike. As we said, the smooth character of the CP2 engine really pays dividends here on this fire road. You can tell it's a little bit rocky, a little bit slippery. There's some moisture in the dirt, which is nice. And these Rally Raid Dunlops do a good job of gripping the terrain much better than the OE fitted Pirelli Rally STRs. You can see them on the right. Those are the Dunlops on the left. So a very accommodating motorcycle. It's nice and nimble, really smooth power, and the ergonomics on it. Gosh, you can really move around this bike really well. It's worth noting when you're operating these types of bikes, you need to use a different type of riding style. You use a dirt bike riding style where you lean the bike over and you sit on top of it, rather than a street bike style where you lean the bike over and you hang your body off and you try to keep the bike upright. Those are the two things that are different about street bikes and dirt bikes. Alright folks, we're going to make our photo stop. We'll check in with you in a little bit. Alright folks, that was a mission accomplished photo stop. Now we're riding to another photo stop. That is the nature of the beast when you're putting in a hard day's work here at an official US press introduction. So far so good. Really like the ergonomics on this bike. Really like the smooth CP2 power band of this thing. These Dunlop tires, ooh, they are nice and grippy on this loose gravel. They really make a difference. You really have a lot more input on the front brake. You can actually use the front brake and the vehicle will stop, which I love. Alright folks, we'll check in with you in a little bit. Wow folks, look at that view. That is unbelievable. The cool places that you can go on middleweight adventure touring bikes like Yamaha's Ténéré T7. This is awesome. Look at Mother Nature's glory. That is unbelievable. I love riding motorcycles. That is such a beautiful sight. Look at that valley. Unbelievable. Here it is, folks, where dinosaurs soar. Let's check out the dinosaur footprints from 1 billion years ago BC. Well, folks, look, we're on top of this precarious cliff where we could fall to our death at any moment. This is the dinosaur tracks place. Here is the prehistoric dinosaur tracks from 1 billion BC. Look at that. These are all prehistoric dinosaur tracks. And here we are on this gnarly cliff that could go any minute. What do you think of this precarious cliff, dude? Don't do it. You have a lot to live for, buddy.
Where's my my wings. I should fly off this thing. What do they call that? Base jump or yeah, I don't know, wingsuit?
Monster wingsuit.
I don't know if it's tall enough for that, boys.
So neat. Look at this.
Wow, folks, what a view. Now it's time to saddle back up on our Ténéré T7 and log some more miles. You! Well, folks, that was neat to check out the dinosaur tracks and overlook that beautiful gorge. So neat. Now, the suspension on this Ténéré T700, we have an inverted fork in the front and a linkage-equipped shock absorber in the back. 8.3 inches of front suspension travel, 7.9 inches of rear suspension travel. Now, the fork in typical dirt bike format has nice air bleeds atop each fork cap. You use a flathead screwdriver, and what that does is it reduces the pressure inside the fork. So if you're going to be riding serious off-road, it's not a bad idea to remove that screw, bleed the air from the fork, just so the pressure inside the fork matches atmospheric pressure. You'll get better damping response when you do that. It also has another flathead clicker for compression damping adjustment with rebound damping adjustment on the bottom of each fork leg. So independent compression and damping adjustment. There is no spring preload adjustment for the fork. There is, however, a hydraulic remote style preload adjuster for the shock, so you can fairly easily modify the spring preload, which will also alter the ride height of the vehicle in the rear based on your handling preference or if you have a lot of load on the vehicle. Generally, you want to have more preload if you have more load, or you want a steeper head angle, less preload if you want a less steep head angle and you have a lighter load. That remote preload adjustment knob, it's kind of hard to get there. It's not the easiest thing to get to, but you stick your hand in that cavity and you can make that adjustment. The shock body also offers rebound damping adjustment, but it doesn't offer compression damping adjustment. You know, that's one area where the Ténéré T700 really comes up a little bit short, is in the suspension capability, and that's for high-end riders. High-end riders that are going to ride this bike on serious off-road terrain at speed, they're going to want more heavy-duty suspension. But on the other end, if you are someone who's going to tackle relatively moderate terrain, or you're someone who doesn't have a lot of experience off-road, the suspension on this vehicle is awesome because it's very forgiving, it's very supple, the spring rate is a tad on the soft side, which helps maximize traction. Look at that mountain, look how beautiful that is. The suspension spring rate's a tad soft, which helps the tires find grip in loose terrain. So again, life's a compromise, and that is the deal with the suspension on this bike. Overall, I like it. I think it's pretty good, pretty well versed, very versatile on the road and off-road. It is for sure, when you really get this thing going at speed over sand whoops and over kind of fast and gnarly terrain that you typically ride a dirt bike on, that's where the suspension shows its weakness. But you can always fix that with aftermarket modifications or sourcing different suspension components. I like that the fork is of high quality and it has independent compression and damping circuits per fork leg. A lot of companies these days are starting to use suspension components that have spring on one and damping on the other, and they do that because it's less expensive to manufacture, and it's really just less expensive to manufacture. It's a little bit lighter too, to be fair. So it's neat to see that the T7 comes with quality components.
Wow, this is awesome. Again, we're riding with the Rally Raid Dunlops. These are DOT legal, so we can actually ride these on the road legally. That's pretty neat. So far, so good. Obviously, riding these knobby tires on the asphalt, you want to be a little bit careful and not use the brakes too aggressively. Don't slam on the throttle because you're just going to tear up those knobs. They're going to be less sharp when you're riding in the soft stuff. Wind protection on this bike. This bike has a narrow windscreen. This windscreen's nice. I'm really happy this bike has a windscreen because it does offer some protection from the elements. For sure, it could be a little bit taller, but it really can't be that much wider just because the profile of this bike is so narrow. So, but all in all, it's a good windscreen. We like it. Engine vibration at this speed. Right now we're running in 4th gear at 44 miles per hour. The engine vibration, you definitely feel vibration through the controls, but it's the good kind of vibration. Yamaha really takes pride in its musical heritage, and when it engineers its bike, it literally tunes the vibration and the harmonics of the engine for a pleasurable riding experience. Other manufacturers don't do that. They just have vibration willy-nilly style just because their noise vehicle harshness department doesn't know any better, or their engineering department doesn't. So the vibration feels like it's specifically tuned to enhance the riding experience. We're not using the rubber foot peg inserts, which probably increases the engine vibration a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's excessive, but you definitely feel it through the handlebar and the foot pegs. But also with that vibration, this engine has a really nice note to it. It's got a nice guttural sound. It sounds a little V-twinny to us, and it just has a real robust feel. Of course, the exhaust note is fairly muted, so you're not going to be annoying your neighbors when you pull in on this motorcycle after dark. Now, as we mentioned before, this is an official US press introduction to esteemed members of the media. So we can't just do what we want. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to operate this motorcycle after dark. We take great pride in reviewing these motorcycles after dark. I think we're the only US motorcycle media outlet that does that. But we're not going to be able to do that on the T7 because we're on a lead follow ride. If we get a T7 in our race shop here in the next couple months, we will be sure to ride it at night. That said, this vehicle does come equipped with LED lighting for the headlight and the tail light, and the 4 projector beam headlights. God, they look so bright. I bet they're going to work really good at night. You can also adjust the headlights really easily with these knobs right here, so you can adjust the height of the headlight. That's a really nice touch. There's some dual sport off-road dudes and riders. Very nice. Now, while the headlight and taillight are LEDs, these turn signals are not. They're old school halogen bulb turn signals that Yamaha has been using for decades and decades and decades. And it's just kind of strange that Yamaha would put on nice LED lighting for the headlight and the taillight and then use 20-year-old halogen bulb turn signals. Yamaha, can we get some nice LED turn signals? Come on. Alright folks, we are on the road. I love how nimble this 452-pound Ténéré T7 is. This bike is very nimble. Wow, this is beautiful, folks. I can't believe how awesome this is. Let's turn on our Insta360 video camera so we can get tasty content for all of you folks at home in full 360-degree spectrum. Alright folks, we're going to log some miles and check in with you in a little bit. Thanks for riding with us. Alright folks, we're on more Fire Road. Now again, The Ténéré T700 is more than capable of this. This is PG. Actually, it's really G. It's G-rated trails for the Ténéré T7. Now, unlike some of the competitors in the class, this vehicle is devoid of electronics. There's no adjustable power modes. There is no traction control. There's no engine brake control. And, you know, it would be nice if Yamaha would have at least fitted its D mode that it has. The D mode is ride-by-wire throttle enabled mapping adjustment, so you can adjust the response of the right twist grip with D mode. Now the response of this engine, it's good. Like it's not the snappiest thing, but it's not the laziest either. It works well, but it would have been nice if we could have perhaps sharpened throttle response. A sharper throttle response would be good for someone who's riding in soft terrain, think mud, think sand, and you want the engine to be a little bit more explosive feeling when you crack the throttle. So that would have been a nice touch. Unfortunately, this bike doesn't have it. Traction control, some people might moan that this bike doesn't have traction control. Realistically, it's not a big deal. Traction control is in the form of the right wrist. The power band of this engine and the relatively heavy flywheel effect of this engine, it feels hooked up. It's a little bit lazy in terms of acceleration, but that's not a bad thing. That just helps that 18-inch rear tire connect with the terrain that you're riding on. So the fact that it doesn't have traction control is absolutely not a deal breaker, because the engine inherently has traction control because it's so smooth. Engine brake control, I'm a big fan of adjustable engine brake control. That would be another nice feature that would be cool. To be fair, the engine brake effect when you let off the throttle, it's not too aggressive, and it's not too wimpy either. Wimpy when I mean that if you let off the throttle, the bike would just freewheel ahead. There is some engine braking effect. It is always nice to be able to tailor that. You know, some people don't like a lot of engine braking, others do. And having that feature would have been nice. I'd also like to have heated grips and cruise control. I'm a big heated grips and cruise control guy. But it is what it is. We do have a 12-volt power plug here, which you can use to charge your GPS or other electronic doodads that you may have. We would obviously probably fit a USB plug, a dual USB plug into that. Then we could charge our USB powered devices. There's also a knockout here on the right, so you could wire in another port or another accessory charging adapter right there if you wanted. Now, we have the ABS enabled right now. ABS, realistically, this terrain we're riding on is not gnarly at all, so having ABS on isn't even a big deal. And the actuation of the ABS is actually pretty good. It doesn't cycle. If you use the brakes smoothly, it comes in fairly non-aggressively, which I like. We talked about the triple disc brakes earlier. All the rotors are cross-drilled and vented. We've got a non-radial master cylinder, an axial pump style master cylinder, which pushes hydraulic fluid through rubber brake hoses. And the setup works well. The brakes have really good feel. They have really good feel, so when you pull back on the lever, you can really feel that brake bite instantaneously. That helps allow you to use the brakes more comfortably and maybe even more aggressively than you would on terrain that you might not be as familiar with, which is really nice. Having sensitive brakes on this bike works really well because it just allows you to help understand that the limit of traction when you're braking. It also goes along with the relatively softish fork spring rate. We talked about how the fork's a little bit soft in terms of its spring rate. Well, that just helps it find grip on the slippery fire road stuff. And having a sensitive brake just boosts the prowess of stopping when it's time to slow down the vehicle. The back brake is nice and responsive too. It would have been nice if Yamaha would have fit a double piston rear caliper. I'm a big advocate of double piston rear calipers on all motorcycles, especially ones that you ride off-road. But to be fair, this single piston setup works well. Well, folks, look at this sandstone stuff here. This is crazy. Look, there's Ryan gonna climb the mountain on that thing. He's insane. Jeez Louise, you see that? He just climbed the whole mountain on the Ténéré T7. That was sick. What a wild man.
Yeah. I think he shit his pants up there.
He what?
I think he shit his pants a little bit.
Let's see how he gets down, folks. On the 2023 Ténéré T7. Look at that ledge. Wow! Nice, dude! Nice!
You tell me where it's scary going up there. Dude, I couldn't keep the rear tire from...
Hey, Ryan, that's why they pay you the big bucks! So Ryan just showed us how it's done and how to ride up this crazy sandstone stuff. It's crazy how much grip this stuff has. It's pretty amazing. We can go off this one. This little ledge is easy for us. We'll wait till these guys go, and then we'll go. Nice. And away we go, folks. It's crazy, that sandstone stuff. It offers excellent grip against the business end of these Dunlop Rally Raid tires. You could ride a street bike tire on that stuff and it'd have great grip. Really proves the performance of this Ténéré T7. If you're a good rider, you can do anything on this bike. I know we said the suspension is maybe not the best for the top level off-road rider, but again, it's all relative. It's maybe not the best versus bikes like the KTM, but it's still pretty dang good. Oh, this is fun. Now we're in the sand, a little bit of sand here. I really like the ergonomics on this bike because I can scooch really far forward and I can put a good amount of weight on the front tire. I like the way the fuel tank is cut out. It makes it easy for getting your weight on the front of the motorcycle through turns. The more weight you have on the front of the motorcycle through turns, the more grip you're going to have. Yet, you can still, the seat, you can slide back in the seat and ride lazy man style if you want. For like if you were riding on the highway for extended highway miles. Very nice ergonomics on this motorcycle. Well, folks, we made it through the sand, the not so precarious sand. And look at this fire road that's carved in this canyon. How beautiful is this, folks? This is what motorcycle riding is all about to me. Getting out there and seeing stuff. Yep. Have a little bit of water down there. Wow, this is paved. That's kind of crazy. The intermediate paved sections here. It's kind of weird. Really like this bike. Super easy to ride. Over the rough stuff back there, things got a little bouncy with the suspension, but again, it's something we know that it's going to do. And for having the high level of comfort and poise for all riders, I think that this suspension package is a good compromise for all types of riders. Holy schmoly. Looks like a postcard. Is this CG or is this real life? I can't tell. It's too perfect. Look, folks, now we're riding on the rocks here in this Moab-like terrain. Now the rock is black just from people's tires wearing off onto the rock, which gives it a black appearance, and it also gives the rock some extra grip. Pretty neat. Looks like we're gonna go down a slightly precarious downhill. Let's see what it's like. Shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, looks easy enough. Yeah, it's easy enough for sure. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Shouldn't have hit that thing, that ledge. Hopefully the tire's okay. That was kind of a hard hit. I think we're okay though. Phew! Alright folks, we just had lunch in Moab, Utah. We crossed over from Colorado into Moab, Utah. And the topography is much the same. Lots of green lushness running down there in that valley. The water is very, very high with how much precipitation and snow that the West Coast got this calendar year. Wow, this place is just gorgeous. We have another 70 miles till we're back at our destination here in Gateway, Colorado. We're gonna log some more miles on the highway and then ride a little bit more off-road, and we will be back. This Ténéré 700 for short trips on the road is fully capable. You know, we're cruising in top gear, 44 miles per hour, and things are pretty good right now. We'll check in with you guys in a little bit. Look at these jagged walls, folks. Look, it's just straight up vertical jaggedness. Unbelievable. Think about how many trillions of pounds this rock weighs. Unbelievable. It's so gorgeous. Words don't even do justice to describe the beauty of this place here in Moab, Utah. Look how full that river is. Look. So neat. Instrumentation on this Ténéré T700. We have this one color LCD rectangular display right here. It has a gear position indicator right here, upper right. I like that a lot. We have the speedometer, which is easy to read right in front of us. There's a clock. This eco setting, this eco light comes on when the motorcycle is achieving good fuel economy. Kind of a funny kind of gimmick. Kawasaki used to have that too on its motorcycles, where if you were riding at a low RPM in a certain gear, when the computer deemed it a good fuel MPG setting, it would light up like that. Kind of strange to me, but still neat. It has it, I guess. We also have a vertical bar style tachometer that keeps tabs on how fast the engine is spinning. We have the fuel gauge right here, which keeps tabs on the capacity of the 4.2 gallon fuel tank. Then we have this select button here, which we manipulate with our right thumb. So far we've gone 81 miles. Odometer, this vehicle has 1,542 miles on it, and the air temperature, I love ambient air temperatures on motorcycles. It's 88 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit toasty. To be fair, the air here in Moab, Utah is very dry. So it's not quite as warm as 88 degrees would be, let's say, in Daytona Beach, Florida. But it's still a little bit toasty for us. I wish I was wearing moto gear right now, just because moto gear vents so well. We also have a fuel economy function, so right now we're getting 90 miles per gallon. Isn't that crazy? That's why that eco light is on. Let's see what average fuel mileage we have registered here. 49.5 miles per gallon is our average. So very good fuel economy out of this 689cc parallel twin. To be fair, we've been riding this motorcycle mostly at low speeds. We haven't done much high speed freeway riding. Speed's generally been well below 60 miles per hour. So that is one of the reasons why we're registering such a high MPG number. If we were riding this vehicle at home, we would probably be getting closer to 38, 39 miles per gallon, because we love to ride fast at home. So it's worth remembering that if you can just manage your speed and keep your RPMs low, keep the vehicle speed low, you can achieve really good fuel mileage like we are now at 49.5 MPG. Wow, holy cow, folks, look at this. This is crazy. Look how beautiful this is. We are riding on this fire road into the crazy gorge. Isn't this crazy how at one point this whole valley was filled with water? Like billions and billions and billions of gallons of water. It is crazy that Mother Nature leaves these secrets behind to tell us where we came from. Fascinating. Look, folks, we got stream crossings. Yeah! How sick is that? I love stream crossings. Yeah! Feels nice against the boots, cooling down the feet on this 88 degree day. Wow, folks, check out this scenery. This scenery is like nothing I've ever seen. It's like a snake of dusty dirt, two-track fire road. I'm sorry, two-lane fire road that just meanders up this gorge. Pretty wild. Look, we got the storm coming in. I hope it rains. If it rained, that would be totally awesome right now. Hopefully it wouldn't make the dirt. Actually, maybe it wouldn't be totally awesome, because I bet you anything that there'd be parts of this trail that would turn into super slick, snotty pathway, which would just be crazy precarious, just like that poor R1250 GS Duo and the S1000XR guy that got stuck in the super snotty mud yesterday. But it'd still be cool if it did rain, because maybe it would add some adventure, more adventure to the ride. Yeah! Really like the ergonomics on this bike in the standing position. We talked about the handlebar and the seat, but it's also nice just the side of the bike where you grip the motorcycle frame with the inside of your legs. It's a nice flat surface with a lot of grip area, so you can just squeeze your legs together, and that helps give good support. To be fair, this terrain is not especially gnarly, but you always want to have some help in the form of being able to grip your body to the motorcycle. Wow, these rocks are crazy. Thankfully, some grader person was kind enough to recently scrape this surface. You can tell by how smooth it is. Thank you, scraper guy or gal. Wow, now look at this! This beautiful green valley inside this gorge. This is insane, folks! My gosh, the places you can go, the things you can see on this Ténéré T700. Look, folks, look at where we are. Ryan, what do you think, man?
Oh, it's been good. We're, I don't know how many miles we are in so far, but
100.
100 miles in, yeah. So I was figuring we're getting pretty close back to the lodge, but no, it's been good. We've rode all kinds of sorts of different terrain and pretty high elevations and down into the town of Moab, so that was pretty cool. Had some lunch, and yeah, we're on our way back.
Yeah, dude, you were doing some off-road dirt bike maneuvers out there, dude, off some obstacles.
You know, you got to bring a little Supercross, you know, mix into it, I guess. You know, a little off-road. It's a bit heavy, but it still works and handles great. The harder you ride it, the better it is.
All right, one thing we forgot to talk about, folks, is gearing. Gearing on this motorcycle. Now, first gear is low enough to tackle obstacles, and yet sixth gear is still tall enough to not have the engine spinning like crazy on the freeway. So obviously you want first gear to be low enough to climb precarious obstacles, and you want sixth gear to be tall enough so the engine's not spinning to the moon when you're riding at highway speeds. Obviously, if you're riding at 90 miles per hour, that's a high speed for this bike. So sixth gear isn't that tall where you're going to be able to cruise at 90 with the RPM running at a low level. So just keep that in mind. Right now we are riding in second gear, and the character of this engine really works good for this apparatus. Just this engine loves to lug up stuff. You can run it at gear high, and this engine will just, you don't even have to have the throttle on, and the bike just lugs up stuff. It's crazy because even from stop signs, you'd be surprised. You can launch this motorcycle from fourth gear. So fourth gear, the engine makes from a stop. We don't recommend that, obviously, but you can do it. All right, got some clean air and can get the speed up. Love how maneuverable this thing is. Feels lighter than its 452 pound curb weight would make you think it is. The ABS program on this bike actually works really good. We've been riding it with ABS on, and honestly, as long as you're relatively smooth at the brake lever and pedal, so far so good. Also, like, the clutch is nice and responsive. I like to keep my finger on the clutch at all times, just in case I need to spool up the engine for whatever reason, or disengage the engine. And the clutch has real nice response, and it's easy to actuate it with one finger. Obviously, if I'm going to fully actuate, I'd use my full hand, but just to get it to slip a little bit, one finger is a-okay. All right, folks, this almost wraps up our 120-mile ride on the 2023 Ténéré 700. We had a great time on this bike. It's super capable, easy to ride, nice packaging, great ergonomics, decent suspension, especially for people who are new to the ADV riding segment, middleweight ADV riding segment. We are going to finish off this last 10 miles and then wrap things up back at base camp. We'll check in with you folks there. I hope you enjoyed the ride and seeing the scenery as much as I did. It is very beautiful in Colorado and Utah. Well, folks, that was a fun 135 miles of riding today on Yami's 2023 Ténéré 700. This bike is boss. It's super easy to ride. It's very capable. I can't even believe the fuel mileage we got out of this thing. During the course of our 135-mile ride, we averaged 48 miles per gallon. Isn't that crazy? For sure,
if I was riding on my own, the fuel mileage would have been way worse because I would have been going way faster overall. But if you just ride at a mellow speed, think below 60 miles per hour everywhere, this thing can get incredible fuel mileage. I'm really impressed. It really makes that 4.2 gallon fuel tank. I was like, oh, the 4.2 gallon fuel tank is too small. But if you ride at a reasonable pace, this thing gets great MPGs. I really like that CP2 689cc engine. It's super trackable. It puts down power very smooth. This is a very forgiving middleweight adventure touring bike. Of course, if you're a high-end rider, no doubt the suspension is going to come up a little bit short. No doubt you're going to want to add some modifications to it, maybe raise the seat and maybe do some other things like fit these phenomenal Dunlop Rally Raid tires. These tires are bomb. They are significantly better than the OE fitted Pirelli Rally STR tires. These Rally Raid tires from Dunlop are fire. Well, folks, that wraps up today's review of Yamaha's 2023 Ténéré 700 live from the official Yamaha press introduction here in Gateway, Colorado. As always, make sure to surf on over to motorcyclistonline.com. That's where all of our content comes to life. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs it down if you don't, and give us a subscription if you like this content. Ring the bell so you're notified of all the content we publish here at this channel. We're posting 1, 2, 3 videos a week now, so stay tuned for more content. And thanks for riding with us, folks.